to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Thanks so much for being with us tonight, and let's get right to my open. In his never-ending campaign to put America last and cement her image as a racist, oppressive nation, the Biden administration has invited the United Nations Human Rights Council, that includes China, Russia, Cuba, and Venezuela, to judge whether America is a racist nation. This was Secretary of State Tony Blinken justifying his actions.
For the United States to be a credible force for human rights around the world, we have to face the realities of racism and hatred here at home. We can't sweep our shortcomings under the rug or pretend they don't exist. We need to face them openly and honestly, even if that's ugly, even if that's painful. That's how we live up to our values.
And now Blinken even went beyond that, urging all UN member states to join in this effort to confront the scourge of racism, racial discrimination, and xenophobia. Blinken added that the invitation to the UN Special Rapporteur on contemporary forms of racism and the UN Special Rapporteur on minority issues was a first step in a plan to issue a standing invitation to all UN experts who report on human rights issues in the United States. Now let me see if I have this straight. You invite people from the UN who hate the United States to come here on our soil to judge us without concern for their bias, their hatred, their prejudice, and their outright opposition and his hostility to a democracy, to judge us? Never in history has this ever happened. You invite China, that has 1 million Uyghurs in concentration camps, to judge us. Cuba, that's arresting journalists, beating and killing demonstrators who simply want food and liberty, to judge us. Venezuela, who tortures her own citizens. And Russia, run by a former KGB intel agent, where enemies of the government are poisoned or just disappear, to judge us. Why? What's in this for you? Who do you work for? You invite our enemies to visit the United States and investigate whether there are human rights issues stemming from the George Floyd murder, compile information and, quote, report back to the world? Are you stupid or crazy? You ask people with dirty hands to judge the most freedom-loving nation in the world, the country where people from those nations risk their lives to come here. And you invite them to address America's systemic racism against Africans and people of African descent in the context of law enforcement? Doesn't your Department of Justice do that? Why are you looking to corrupt foreign governments to judge if we're racist? Why don't you just write the report now? We all know what the narrative you want to cement is and what the report will ultimately say. It's the United Nations simply putting its imprimatur on your 1619 project. And by the way, how are you going to compile this information? Under what authority do foreigners collect additional information? Will they be going into police departments around the country demanding statistics and information? Will they be doing interviews? Do police have the right to refuse to answer questions by members of foreign countries? Under what authority do they even receive the information? Who will review the information to find out whether there is evidence to support their final report? And have you no confidence in the American system of justice? The one that after a jury trial of his peers convicted Derek Chauvin of murder? That's not enough for you? What about the federal government that's monitoring several police departments around the country? That's not enough for you? You need communist China's input? Communist Cuba's approval? You're like an idiotic, simplistic, naive, woke loser. You're not doing anything but creating division nationally and internationally. And speaking of Cuba, why aren't you taking measures if you're so into protecting the rights of the downtrodden and making sure that no one suffers from bias? Why aren't you supporting the Cuban people 90 miles away from our shore? Why is your Homeland Secretary, Mayorkas, saying not only that Cuban refugees should not come here, but that if they do, they'll be returned? Are you in favor of Cuba, a Marxist communist nation, supported by another Marxist organization, Black Lives Matter? Why would you let people from the southern border in, but not the Cubans? Could it be the Cubans are Republicans and they will turn Florida a solid red, so you have to stop them? You invite a scandal-ridden organization, the United Nations, with its own history of corruption, to come here and judge us? The United Nations that has over 100 resolutions condemning the state of Israel, the one democracy in the Middle East. The same United Nations with its peacekeeping force that failed to stop the massacre of more than 8,000 men and boys by Bosnian forces. The same United Nations with its oil for food scandal, where sex abuse scandals by UN peacekeepers in Haiti occurred. The UN, where millions of dollars in cash were funneled to aid North Korean leader Kim Jong-il. Everyone knows what the United Nations is.
The U.S. is asking the United Nations, a cesspool of political bias, to come into the United States and investigate us on human rights. We look so ridiculous in the eyes of the world right now.
And remember, it was the UN World Health Organization that lied to us about the COVID-19 pandemic, mimicking the CCP talking points. Now, you may think the end game here will be the UN labeling the United States as a racist, oppressive nation. That certainly will happen. But it goes beyond identifying the United States as a racist nation and cementing the Democrat narrative. They will recommend reparations. This week, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, urged a wide range of reparations over racism and has urged countries to fully fund a wide range of reparation measures to address the legacies of slavery, colonial rule, and racial discrimination. Yes, it will go beyond identifying the United States as a racist nation. The drumbeat has begun, and reparations are next. And that's my open. Let me know what you think on my Facebook and Twitter, hashtag Judge Jeanine. And here with reaction to my open and much more, Senator Lindsey Graham from the great state of South Carolina, who joins me now. Good evening, Senator Graham.
Good evening.
All right, you heard my open. What do you think?
Yeah. Not one federal dollar for reparations. The State Department's out of control. They've lost their mind. To have Russia, China, Cuba judge America is ridiculous. So to anybody who's going to be met by the UN, or if the UN asks you for information, I would advise you not to get it. It's things like this that are going to lead to a Republican wipeout in 2022 of the Democratic Biden administration in the House and the Senate. And it's moments like this that remind us why President Trump was a good president.
Well, not only that, but if you remember, Obama started with an apology tour, and Biden is starting with, let's put a bullseye on us and let's try to destroy America and make her last. But, there's a lot going on in America today, and I understand that you played golf with President Trump and had dinner with him over the last few days, and I know also that Congressman Kevin McCarthy joined him for a meal or two. What's going on? What's happening with the president?
Well, his golf game is just incredible. He's busting his driver, knocking the pins down with his iron and putting like a wild man. I mean, I'm not joking. I've never seen him play this well. But the president's worried about our country. He's mad as hell about what Blinken's doing, having the UN come in here and judge America. He's very distressed about what's going on in Cuba. It breaks his heart that the border is so broken and inflation is rampant. I met with him and Kevin McCarthy. The president is all in helping Kevin take back the House. He's working well with Rick Scott to make sure we get the Senate majority. But here's what I can tell you about President Trump. He's heartbroken as to what's going on in our country and the world at large. He thinks he can fix it, and he told me he has unfinished business. So I will be shocked if he doesn't run for president in 2024.
He thinks he can fix it, and he has some unfinished business. That's pretty clear. The president, it's 2021. He's clearly thinking about 2024, more than thinking. You think he's all in?
I think he's all in to make sure we take back the House and the Senate and stop this craziness. The reconciliation packages, cradle to grave socialism, spending like drunken sailors, inflation going through the roof. The border is completely lost here. So the bottom line is the president really is very upset by what he's seeing. He thinks he has a plan to fix it. It worked before, it will work again. And he told me there's some unfinished business in terms of what he would like to do as president for the nation to get us on a sustainable, better footing. When you look at Trump's 4 years compared to Biden's 6 months, I like our chances to win the House and the Senate in 2022 and to take back the White House in 2024. Joe Biden's administration is out of control, and every day that passes, we appreciate Trump policies more and more.
Well, I think that clearly the American people are seeing the tremendous difference. But I mean, that is certainly some breaking news, and it's the most that we've heard in a long time in terms of the president and what he's thinking for 2024. And, you know, he is also going out and he's making speeches. He's supporting candidates and indicating he's not supporting other candidates. He's a force on the campaign trail as well.
Well, he owns the Republican Party. It's his nomination. We have a lot of talented people in the Republican Party, but I can tell you this, if President Trump runs in 2024, he will be the nominee of his party. His policies are standing the test of time. Joe Biden's administration is in free fall. The border is broken, rampant inflation, crime in the streets, radical Islam is on the rise. The president has a hell of a story to tell about what he did for this country, and more importantly, what he can do. This is the party of Donald Trump. If you think otherwise, you're in for a rude awakening. I think he's going to lead us to victory in 2022 in the House and the Senate, and I will be shocked after spending 2 days with him if he doesn't run again for president, because he believes he has unfinished business as president of the United States, and he believes he can put the country in a better position than Biden has it, and I agree with it.
All right, Senator Lindsey Graham, thanks so much for being with us and sharing that breaking news information. Thank you. And next, my exclusive sit down with Caitlin.